Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand. I am your host, Grant McGaw, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal branding and business development company. I want to take you on a journey that takes another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your personal brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand podcast series, you will be able to differentiate yourself from the competition and allow you to build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build trust, and reflect who you are. Developing your 5-star personal brand is a great way to demonstrate your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh, spelled M-C-G-A-U-G-H, at 5-star BDM, B for brand, D for development, M for masters.com. Now let's begin with our next 5-star episode on Follow the Brand. In the dynamic world, where the echoes of the battlefield blend with the pulses of cutting-edge technology, where personal stories of resilience and leadership reflect and redefine the parameters of success, one podcast brings you the voices that inspire, change, and lead the charge towards a better tomorrow. Welcome to the Follow Brand Podcast, where we help you to build a 5-star brand that people will follow. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, a voice echoing from the heart of South Florida, a bridge between generations of wisdom and the frontiers of technological evolution. In today's special episode, we are honored to welcome a figure of remarkable strength, a man who has transversed from the deserts of Saudi Arabia to the strategic boardrooms of tech titans, a Marine Corps veteran whose life story encapsulates the essence of leadership, resilience, and change, Mr. Peter Keiley. Peter's journey is a testament to the power of experience, from the unwielding spirit of a combat veteran to the insightful mind of a telecom sage. His commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, his dedication to supporting our frontline heroes through AT&T FirstNet, and his profound insights on mental health and leadership all paint the picture of a man who has turned life's challenges into lessons for us all. But this conversation isn't just about looking back. It's about moving forward. Together, Peter and I delve into the dynamics of sales, the art of nurturing relationships, and the power of community impact. We impact the seismic shift from cold calls to connecting in the digital era. And we explore how the most powerful solutions in business and life emerge from the most diverse voices. So join us as we share, learn, and grow from the unique narrative of Peter Keiley, reminding us all that the battlefield of life shapes leaders in its wake, and the true strength lies in the wellness of both the self and the collective. This is the Follow Brand Podcast, where we are building a 5-star brand that you can follow. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Follow Brand Podcast. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, and we're going to leave it right here in South Florida. We're going to talk to someone I've known now for 20, 25 years. I'm dating myself. I was a baby when I met him, but no. Peter, man, I met Peter when I was I think at the time, it was Avaya, Lucid Technology. Yep. Avaya, right around that period of time, and ran into him. And here we are, years later. He's had time at Verizon, I believe. Now he's been doing a lot of time here at AT&T FirstNet. He's going to talk about that. But we're going to get into a discussion about Peter himself. He has been featured on Forbes. He has been featured on a lot of different panels and webinars because he brings a flavor of his brand that's different, that you don't see in industry and you don't see from individuals in their walk of life. I want to get him introduced so we can jump right into this discussion. Peter, please introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Pleasure meeting you, Grant. Peter Keiley. I'm a client solutions director for AT&T FirstNet, primarily focused on first responders and our healthcare industry. I've got an incredible passion for what I'm doing here, and I'm truly grateful and blessed to have this opportunity. As I'm a military veteran, combat veteran, and I truly have learned and it's true as what our parents say, you get some wisdom in your seniority and your tenure, and you really begin to see what's truly important in life and blocking out the noise. And, that's my purpose. That's my passion of, providing that compassion and interest to the community and for one another, and truly be open to conversation, active listening, the art of active listening, of what's being said and what's not being said, and truly trying to make a difference for each other. And I'm blessed and very grateful to know my good friend Grant here, where we've maintained that connectivity, that communication, that camaraderie of doing well for each other. And again, I learn a lot from Grant, and in turn, he learns a lot from me. So it's, as my mantra is, teamwork makes the dream work, brother.
Oh, without question. And we ran into each other at Hills. And it was just Peter comes up to me like, Grant, I want to do more. I want to get involved. I want to be able to have a voice and talk about some things. And at that time, when we ran into each other, we were actually having a diversity, equity, inclusion discussion as a panel. And Peter was in the front row. He said, man, I really should be on this panel. I really should get up there and speak so you have a full, well-rounded experience. And I told Peter, look, you're going to come on my show. We're going to have this discussion because it's very, very important that all people understand when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, it's inclusive of everyone, not just some people. And we do see this, like, you'll see a women-only panel. You'll see this particular Black people, or you'll see other minority groups. But guess what? You don't have the white majority people on the. I said, we really need to have their viewpoints and have this discussion. I want to hear from you. Why is this so important for you?
Well, Grant, what I've noticed, and I'll say this, I'm truly blessed to have a solid wife and a relationship where I'm proud to say that we've raised our kids well. They're very open. They're open to diversity, people of every element. They were big brothers for kids that had special needs, and when they were in elementary school, now they're 30 and 25. So I like to see that with them. And again, break some of the mold that may have been generational before of what I've learned in DEI. A lot of people, case in point, you go into a business room, there's a lot of unconscious bias. You come into a room and you see the guy that's looking sharp and dressed well, like you or myself, and people gravitate to it. And I'm like, no, I'm not the C-level. I'm just the common guy looking to help and provide some thought leadership in this room. But getting to the point here, and what I had mentioned to you before, Grant, being an active member, right? And we're all leaders. We're all leaders, whether you're an individual contributor or what we're doing here, you're making an impact. And to be transparent and authentic and respectable, and to listen, right? As my father said, and I've done this in storytelling, the art of listening. You cannot possibly hear what I'm saying if your mouth is moving. So learn to listen and listen to learn, and you'll learn a lot. And to the diversity perspective, as I mentioned when I was at the HIMSS conference with Chris and yourself and other panelists, that the moderator realized, hey, there was something wrong with this diversity panel because it was everybody there except someone that looked like me. And then I joked back and I said, that's okay, because unfortunately, many times it's just a panel of people that look like me that are making decisions for people that have no business of doing that, et cetera, right? I can't say that I know what it's like to be a Black man. I can't say that I know what it's like to be a person with identity or transgender or I'm learning there. And what I've learned from you and others is to be truly open and understand that, right? To lean in compassionately, to lean in with compassion and love, and truly learn. And then in turn, just like when I'm doing volunteering as you do, I'm doing that and I'm getting a lot back. And in turn, like what you and I are doing here today, you're getting something back and forth. So there's a big impact, and I've become more aware of it, Grant, particularly with all the noise that's going on in the world, right? Whether it be internationally or unfortunately domestically. And a lot of the noise and the fear, uncertainty, doubt, and all this stuff. And what I've realized is with technology, it contributes to a lot of the angst and the stress and the trauma, right? Because we're always gluing here as opposed to losing the core culture of people helping people, listening to each other and being compassionate. So that's my interest, that's my passion, and that's my purpose of truly helping the community. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share that with you.
Thank you, Peter. And my call to action with what you just said, for your white male counterparts, get involved. Don't listen just to the media, what's D&I? That's not me. Like, yes, it's all of us. We are, especially in America, I don't want to think of America, we are a giant melting pot of so many different people, and we need to be inclusive of all thoughts, all feelings, all representation, and get an understanding of points of view. Not everybody has the correct point of view or incorrect point of view. They're just points of view. But if these views are not represented, then the reality is not reflected in what we're trying to accomplish. So I would like to see more participation in that area and make sure that you are wanted and needed in these discussions. And I'm going to switch, gears just a little bit, because what intrigues me about you particularly, Peter, and I learned this about you during your recent Forbes interview last year for Veterans Day, when they reached out to you, and I learned, wow, Peter was in a tank. He was inside tank. You think about, as a little kid, play tank, right? You play military or whatever, and around. But actually being inside an actual tank in a forward position, take us through how, first of all, before, and then during, then after, how it kind of changed your viewpoints on life.
Sure. And in that interview, as I said, fortunately and unfortunately, I was at the time in the inactive reserve. So I was just, on the sidelines, not really expecting or anticipating to be deployed. And literally in a blink of an eye, a telephone call, Thanksgiving weekend in 1990. And then by that following Monday morning, I was on a plane going over to, Saudi Arabia. And fortunately, I had a lot of time in the Marine Corps, well-respected, new group of people. I was in charge of communications. I was communications chief for 8th Tank Battalion and 2nd Marine Division. So as I mentioned in that interview, I was actually an elder senior non-commissioned officer, and they nicknamed me Grandpa. So I had a group of kids that literally, as you were mentioning, it's great. It's the glory of, combat and firing weapons and being in tanks. There's no glory in that. And whether it's that or the other conflicts that have happened afterwards, you really have a perspective and you get some wisdom, right? So I had some wisdom and leadership skills that helped me. I'm saying I was proud. I didn't have to fire my weapon. I maintained good safety for my troops and the well-being. And then what I realized, and here to my passion of what I'm doing here today, through combat, piece of cake, you're running on adrenaline, you're going well. Once that 100-hour war was done and we went from the forward element back to the rear element, within 24 to 48 hours, Grant, I was in post-traumatic stress. As I mentioned in the interview, I was rolled up in a ball, could barely move, medevaced out to Germany. Fortunately, it was just a lot of stress internally. And then I realized as I reflect, the trauma that I didn't realize back then. Right, I was newly married, had a kid 3 years later, and realized that there was a lot of struggle, a lot of challenges in that marriage in the early years, right? Because it wasn't being addressed. I didn't know it back then. My wife didn't know it back then. So there was a lot of noise. Our kids recognize that, but through the years and the wisdom, as they say, Dad, you're a little bit knucklehead, but you're really good. You were there for all our baseball games. You're there for us now. And what my wife and I share with them, it's unconditional conversation. Right? They're going to do stuff that's going to be silly. They can talk to us. So I learned a lot through that unfortunate circumstance of going through combat. A lot of leadership skills. I learned a lot on the importance of health and wellness, which years later, here I am through being mentored by Dr. Anna Curry, little plug there, who's now the chief chief wellness officer for Clemson University. But the true passion of being aware of yourself, and if you can be strong for yourself, you can then in turn be strong for others, whether it be for your children or for your wife, right? And you're not struggling. But what I've learned a good term is struggle well, right? You're going to struggle, but struggle well. And when you need help, like what you and I are doing here, or as you mentioned before, the other people that might look like me, truly be open. But when you need help, to be able to lean on somebody unconditionally and be able to have that conversation, to be able to be the best that you can be. So I'm truly blessed. And as your parents and my parents would probably say, you don't realize that when you're a teenager or going through college years, you're just a knucklehead. But fortunately, hopefully, you gain that wisdom as you get older. And as I've said before, I'm truly blessed and grateful.
I'm grateful for you even having the courage to get on that plane. You say you're just a reservist, more or less. You're like, hey, I can reservist, get a few bucks, go out for the weekend, get some exercise in bed. Like, what do you mean go to Saudi Arabia?
Oh, yeah. That's why I was in 12 years, and, now I wish I had stayed in, but I didn't, but it's good. Yeah. One tour of combat or one, it's enough. So, and again, I have an appreciation for, the people that are out there serving our public community, right?
For 100%. Thank you for doing that. And then being transparent about the aftermath of, a lot of people call it now PSTD, because you don't know, and not because certain people that go through certain experiences, whether it's a family relationship or a different trauma from, a death may occur and other things, you don't realize the effect of these traumas on yourself until you really step back. If you can step back and say, oh, wow, yeah, I really need to talk to somebody, or I didn't know that this was such an impact on my life. Thank you for sharing that. This is so important because we're both now in technology. We're both now serving in the healthcare realm and offering an enablement tool, enablement factor. Talk to us a little bit about why you chose healthcare and how you're utilizing technology to help with the get more positive outcomes for our patients.
Sure. As luck would have it, and there's a lot of fate, right? In big organizations or any organizations nowadays, there's a lot of churn, right? And you need to adapt and overcome, and you need to keep your skills up to date, right? Or you need to embrace change. Change is constant. And definitely here at AT&T and FirstNet. So to be a spokesperson, right? To be known for good thought leadership as opposed to just being heard. I've been fortunate to be in various industries, and as luck would have it, as you and I started in our career via unified communications and interactive voice response and all of that stuff. And now we're talking about AI and mobility. So as luck would have it, right? And plus a lot of it is what you and I do. And we're blessed to be put into these positions. I'm responsible for healthcare, for public service, responsible for what we call mission critical communications. And as my military background, right, with the Marine Corps in charge of communications is key to life, right? If you've got a natural disaster or a public event, right? The Super Bowl parade was a public event. It was supposed to be nice, supposed to be a quiet day. It was an unfortunate, terrible incident.
Ready to elevate your brand with 5-star impact? Welcome to the Funnel Brand Podcast, your gateway to exceptional personal growth and innovative business strategies. Join me as I unveil the insider strategies of industry pioneers and branding experts. Discover how to supercharge your business development, harness the power of AI for growth, and sculpt a personal brand that stands out in the crowd. Transform ambition into achievement. Explore more at firestarBDM.com for a wealth of resources. Ignite your journey with our Brave Brand Blueprint and begin crafting your standout 5-star future today.
So my passion here is, Grant, as I'm rambling a bit, is to have that same impact and understanding the fact that whether it be just normal communications or in the midst of a challenging time, the importance of being able to communicate, to connect to people, and as opposed just it's a widget, it's a commodity, and the brand behind it as to where I stand as a transparent and authentic person is anybody can provide you connectivity, anybody can provide you a product. You and I, what differentiates us is we stand behind that, we understand what the needs of our community are, and then we provide authentic, honest, holistic consultation as to what we think may be a proper prescription for that patient, right? To paraphrase from healthcare. I'm going to prescribe a prescription that's right for you, and you'll know that I'm honest. If I cannot help you, I may defer you to an alternative option. But fortunately, with AT&T and FirstNet, we do have a portfolio of solutions that I can help with and stand behind that. And it's the community and the communications.
One thing I always liked about you, and we've got a large audience of sales professionals that tune in to my show on a weekly basis to learn different things around personal branding, business development, career development, technology innovation, executive presence, and these types of things from individuals like you. So one thing I always liked about you, and I've observed from you, is your sales acumen and your process, and how you have a framework in which you engage with your particular clientele, that at the end of the day, the positive outcome is however it works one way or the other, that you're consistent. Talk to our audience about your framework.
Sure. So frequently, whether it be internal, in a sales organization, it's about doing sales. And from the other side, from a customer, you're looking at, okay, I need a product. I need to fix something. So what I try to do is, again, it's all about relationships. And as I'll say to my customers that may say, oh, Peter, you're just a sales guy. My responsibility to my organization and also to my family, because if you're in sales, your compensation drives behavior and you need to be successful. So my responsibility there is sales, but my true value and the differentiator to all of us that are successful in sales, it starts with relationship, honest relationship, and understanding what your product is, understanding who your customer is, right? And understanding the industry, understanding trends that are going out there, whether it be the evolution, right, of you and I with unified communications, and car phones to be cellular phones, to be mobile devices, to connected anywhere, and to provide that solution, is to identify what I call the PCSB, problem, cause, solution, benefit. And if we identify that, and then we're engaging with our client, at the end of the day, we've identified the problem, we understand what the cause is, we're going to talk about solution or solutions and what those benefits are. And then it helps you and I as salesperson and client or customer that when we want to pivot from conversation to execution and deliverable, it's done. It's not a matter of, well, your price is too high, I need an ROI. You've identified the problem, cause, solution, benefit, which is a huge differentiator. And you're not just looking to make a sale or sell a widget or sell a product, but you're making differentiator, and it's understanding your customer, understanding the industry, understanding what we can provide, and then prescribing the proper, prescription to resolve that. And in the long term, which is where makes us successful in our industry, is that you've got tenure, and you're going to, be just like myself with my 34 years of marriage. You'll have a long-term relationship as opposed to, a short-term, tenure.
Yeah, transaction. That's it. You want to be someone who's indispensable in what you do. You're the go-to person. One thing I learned from you, and you said it so eloquently, yeah, you can probably get connectivity from a ton of different people. And a lot of those will be maybe just as reliable as what I'm doing, possibly. And they have certain services that are very similar, but they're not me, meaning they don't have the relationship of knowing who we are. Now, one thing I've noticed, and I like this about you, and I want our sales professionals to really tune into this. We've been in the business over 20, 30 odd years. I remember starting out, and we were basically, we're knocking on doors, we're banging out fax machines, right? And
yeah.
And then, we're doing, I remember email first came online. This is cool. I can send out an email, but you always had a phone call. You were doing phone call, cold calling, and that kind of thing. The game has changed, meaning you still really kind of need to do a lot of those things, but you need to put something in front of that. And that's what I call social selling. You've got to get in front of people and showcase your thought leadership in these social media channels, just like we're doing right now. So that, because when people now are looking for a product or service, or they have a particular problem, they're going to use search and social first. And if you're not in that world, most people are not going to open an email for somebody they don't know. They're not going to take a phone call from somebody they don't know. If you send them a bunch of mail, most likely like, oh, that's junk mail, they throw it away. And God forbid you go knock on somebody's door, you might end up in somebody's police car. But
yeah, correct.
So my question to you, Peter, you have pivoted. Tell us about how you feel your sales approach now has changed and how you've gotten a lot of traction through social selling.
Sure. A big part is, through social selling, what I try to do and very frequently do is, provide, relevant, holistic content, right? It's not, and that may be relative as a, for example, my purpose and passion is health and wellness. My purpose and passion currently is, healthcare, right? So I'll try to understand the industry, for example, AI, virtual reality as alternatives to palliative care and healthcare, right? To wean off patients from possible, pills and opioids, and have the power of virtual reality in reducing pain and et cetera, which we're doing with a wonderful hospice company down here in South Florida. Many of you who know who they are. But it's a good partnership in going to social media is key, right? Because everybody has this. And unfortunately, as my wife would say, Peter, how many devices do you need? And, everybody's looking at this. And a case in point, what I'll try to do, Grant, what we're doing here, we're on video. When I'm doing virtual meetings, I'll be on video deliberately so that I'm dressed appropriately and I'm fully engaged and I'm not sitting looking at my tablet or other device or responding to emails. But the connectivity to what you were saying there, social is key, whether it's our generation or generation X, Y, Z, millennial, and whatever the next generation may be. Technology is good, but you've got to adapt, improvise, overcome. And again, like you said, in today's world, smiling, dialing, you're probably not going to get anywhere. Knocking on somebody's door probably is pretty dangerous nowadays. And you just need to adapt, but provide content that's relevant, right? That's and appropriate to the media, right? Meta or Facebook. Okay, that's good. You see friends. Hey, I'm out playing golf. I'm having dinner, etc. Other mediums, whether it be Twitter, LinkedIn, and what have you. And I don't want to be plugging other, but it's basic, most common social. Be relevant to that medium, right? You don't want to be, you don't necessarily need to see on LinkedIn, your kid's birthday party. You might spin it to something health and wellness and something happy and relevant. But, understand your medium, understand the platform. And again, it maximizes your touch. And it's helped you and I incredibly to get in the door. If I can, one more moment, and as you're all getting to know me, Peter's a very verbose person. I can tell you so many meetings that I've never met an individual, whether it be a C-level or just a day-to-day manager or, the admin working at the front desk, where I'll come in and I'll say, Grant, good to meet you. And they're like, how do you know I'm Grant? Because I've looked you up on social media and I know about you and I know about, some of the challenges like like you said before, with your dad and your history and, all that. So I'll understand the person and I blow them away. And funny, and sometimes they're like, you're a stalker. I'm like, no, I'm not a stalker. I'm just trying to understand you. So it's a good platform, and there's no need in today's now day and age, which you remember the quote was, what keeps you up at night? In this day and age, you do not have to say what keeps you up at night. It's all on the internet. And here's my positive mental attitude. It's one back to pat, not one throat to choke. No. Thank you.
I like how you said that. Great quote there from Peter, because it is so important. Because you can, to your point about when someone actually sees you and you go to a business meeting, and it's very important. Now, 50% of the discussion of just figuring out who you are is already done. You can jump right in to commonality. You have bridge points to conversation, and they like, you know what? I really like what you talked about in your particular service and how that solved that particular problem for that client. You know what? I've got something similar. That's why I brought you in, Peter. Let's talk about that experience. That is today's selling. Anybody can find requirements online. They can, look up your speeds, your feeds, all this kind of stuff. They can get case studies. They can get all kinds of information, but they cannot get true experience that comes for somebody who lives this day in and day out. And they can deliver that. What is that experience going to be like for me? And that's what I liked about what Peter said, because your problem is going to be different from that particular problem that maybe I talked about on social media, but it's going to be similar. And here's why. Now you've established yourself as that thought leader, somebody who knows, someone that I can really consult with, can help me to invest in a solution that's going to have tangible ROI, that's proven result. And I've got someone who's going to stand behind that as we go through this journey together. Now, before I leave you, and we've got just a few minutes here, and I always want to turn over the mic to my guest. Make sure we don't leave anything on the table, that he has an opportunity to speak directly to the audience of healthcare and technology and IT professionals and sales professionals out here across South Florida and across the world. What would you like to leave us with, Peter?
I'd like to leave all of us, right, with what I've realized with my passion and purpose in anything that we're doing, whether it be through combat, right, or day-to-day living and selling, etc. To be physically, mentally, and some form of spiritual ground, right? And if you have that all working together, we can be successful. And I can tell you this, I've noticed in my supercharged awareness of health and wellness, in a time where I was struggling mentally through just some challenges, I wasn't aware of it, and it was actually impacting my performance at work. And it was actually, and obviously at home, your wife always knows, Peter, what's the matter? And I'm always like, no, nothing's the matter, nothing's the matter. But when you are, whether you be hungry, right? Like the TV commercial, I'm hangry or whatever, I need a Snickers bar, or you're hungry, you've got a lot of noise up there, you've got a lot of stress. It impacts your ability to perform, whether it be a simple thing of, turning on a light switch or doing that. So to be aware of yourself, to be as solid as you can be, because if you're solid, you can perform well. If you're solid for your wife and kids, you're there for your wife and kids. You're not detached. You're there for your customers. You're being successful and you're working. Get your rest, right? Eat well. It's true. It's all pieces of the puzzle. If one thing is missing, other things are going to be impacted. And the most important thing, as I say, people helping people, right? Learn to listen to learn, be compassionate. We don't necessarily have to agree on everything. However, if I don't agree with you, it doesn't have to be combative. It can be respectful. And in doing so, we all learn from each other. And it's a little ripple effect, right? Throw a stone into a river or a lake, it ripples out. And what you and I do, Grant, and which is why I'm very grateful and blessed to be here with you today, we're making an impact. And it takes, as my mentor, again, Dr. Anna Curry would say, it takes 1 second to be a good human being. And when I ask you, how are you doing today? It's truly listening to you, how you're doing today, looking at you in the eye, as opposed to just saying how you're doing and walking past you. Be engaged. It takes 1 second, 1 minute, and the impact is immeasurable to not only your community, but to what you're doing in your business world and for your family.
Oh, wise words. That is wisdom for the day. And I love what you just said. This is what motivates me. It doesn't matter if only one person views this particular episode. What matters is that one person was impacted by that episode, and it got them through the moment they were in, the hours that come after that, the weeks, the months, the years. They have something tangible that they can work through. And that's why I have over 150 different episodes available at 5-Star BDM. And before I leave you, Peter, tell us how to get in contact with you, because you've got some great wisdom that I think a lot of people will want to re-engage with you.
Sure. You can reach me at my personal email, which is peterkeiley@bellsouth.net. My corporate email is pk4213. And if you would like to get to me via social media, via cell phone, 954-821-2558. I'm here for you. I want to make an impact to our community, and it's an unconditional, lean in, no bias, loving relationship. And as I said in the other stories, you've got a friend in me, unconditional.
I love it. I love it. And I encourage your entire audience to tune in to me at 5-Star BDM. That is the number 5. That's star, B for brand, D for development, Infomasters.com. This has been wonderful. Peter, thank you for taking time out of your day to visit with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grant. Love you all.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us on the Follow Brand Podcast. Big thanks to Full Effect Productions for their incredible support on each and every episode. Now the journey continues on our YouTube channel, Follow Brand TV series. Dive into exclusive interviews, extended content, and bonus insights that will fuel your success. Subscribe now and be a part of our growing community, sharing and learning together. Explore, engage, and elevate at Follow Brand TV series on YouTube. Stay connected, stay inspired. Till next time, we will continue building a 5-star brand that you can follow.